Hi everyone, I just want to give you a quick walkthrough of some of the niceties that have been added thanks to the HTML5 standard. Honestly, it's not incredibly different from the standpoint of what you're used to doing with any previous version of HTML, um, but HTML5 largely is an improvement on the way that we develop web pages. Also, as I mentioned, it gives you the ability to do a lot of things using built-in functionality now, as opposed to rolling your own solution or every developer rolling their own solution. So before we start, it's important to note the fact that you should have your doc type set to be for the HTML5 standard. If you're not doing that already, you probably are doing that already, but just in case you're not, make sure you do. Let's talk about a few new elements, some of the more important elements that have been added thanks to HTML5. With respect to the block level elements, there have been several that have been added. Header is one, aside, article, and footer. These are pretty useful for organizing your code. It gets rid of the need to make a separate div and give it an ID of header, and a separate div and give it the ID of footer, and so on. The problem with this is that IE, some versions of IE do not support these yet. There are hacks to get around them to make them work, so just be careful when you use these new elements. Consider your audience. If you expect your audience to be using older versions of IE, it will break, and it will break in a terrible fashion. I know this from firsthand experience. So next, what's really neat is that HTML5 has augmented our capabilities, built-in capabilities for making interactive forms and actually forms that give automatic feedback. This one in particular allows us to augment the input field and actually format it automatically such that it becomes a date field. There are multiple versions of this date field property. If you'll notice, the type is set to date. It carries more than just the date attribute. It's date, time, month, year, and depending on what you have this type set to, it will format this input field differently. I can go in here and I can type in whatever I want, but it gives the user a starting format how to think. That's all automatic. This is all built into Chrome. I'm using Chrome right now. If you're looking at this document, this HTML document that I posted on your browser, and it's not working like that, your browser isn't supported. Likewise, you can say, that should say number, but you could say number, and it actually gives you an integer value. It even goes into the negatives if you want. I have to change that, my mistake. So also, this is something that's been pretty hot recently, is adding a little bit of tooltip text to a input field or a text area. And you can actually do that very easily with a new attribute thanks to HTML5 called placeholder. You just add that to your input and type whatever text you would like to appear inside your input in there. You click on it and it automatically clears. There is no JavaScript necessary for this. This is one of the very nice things that have been added. These next two examples, they're very nice, except I have to warn you, they require JavaScript to manipulate. But if you just simply put the meter and the progress element in your page and set the value to something, you'll see what you see here. But to actually get it to be animated, that requires JavaScript. But these are pretty nice. These are actually new built-in features. Most browsers support them. Use them sparingly, only when something is actually loading. You probably won't have a use for these unless you're doing some AJAX operations, which you'll learn in 147. So this by far, I think, is one of the neater abilities to making something editable, is this content editable property. What it allows you to do is, if you add content editable to like a paragraph tag or a div, you can actually click on it. The browser makes it editable. You can actually type right into the element, just like that. And if you click off of it, it's been committed. Now, that doesn't mean that it's been saved to a form or something. If you want to save what that user typed, then you need to actually type it, or you actually need to use like jQuery or JavaScript to pull that value and commit it to some script. But as far as this is all on the interface side, this can be done without JavaScript. There's no need to be, there's no need to attach any JavaScript events to this. But if you, like I said, if you want to actually save whatever the user typed in, you have to introduce JavaScript into this. But from the user interface side, very easy to implement. Also, the ability to create custom attributes was added in HTML5. This is really nice, and it's actually the entire premise of what jQuery Mobile is based off of, is the ability to add custom attributes. And you do that by prefixing whatever your attribute is with the prefix data dash. So you notice I have two custom attributes in here, data-old and data-category. You can make them be whatever you want. This is just a dumb example. If you this really comes in handy when you're doing, let's say, jQuery, especially jQuery Mobile. jQuery Mobile has some of their own attributes. Some of them are data underscore or data hyphen category, data hyphen theme. And what this allows it to do is it talks to the JavaScript and is able to carry static values with it, and give the JavaScript some more information about how this element's supposed to behave, or what type of element, what kind of type of data it's contained within. So this is a very unique thing. This is something that has not existed pre-HTML5. So this is very useful for making very flexible layouts and very flexible web applications. There's much more to this standard. If all you have to do is literally Google HTML5, it is important to note the fact that what is supported changes from browser to browser, and this is the common theme still across web development abroad. Pay very close attention that if you find something that's really neat, try it out in several browsers, or go to the browser's actual homepage and check to see if they have an HTML5 compliance chart, and see if whatever you're using is supported. All right, that about wraps it up. There's a lot more to learn out there. One thing that we can't really go over is Canvas. That allows you to draw 2D graphics. If that's something that you're interested in, know that HTML5 has brought that to us, thankfully. But understand that it is largely JavaScript controlled. So if that's something, if drawing 2D graphics on a screen is something that you want to be able to do, check that out. Otherwise, happy coding.